Hello and welcome to another episode of A Conversation with Carl. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe for the latest content. Today we welcome former Greenland Member of Parliament Tillie Martinussen. She was a member of Greenland's parliament from 2018 to 2021, the sole representative of the Cooperation Party, the party she herself co-founded. The Cooperation Party is a small liberal, pro-unionist political party in Greenland, founded in 2018, promoting increased cooperation with the Kingdom of Denmark, higher immigration, and improved social services. Welcome, Tillie Martinussen, to the conversation.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I might add, I also used to be a member of the Democrats, which are in power now, and I'm thinking about maybe going back to those. So just so you know, I used to be in parliament for 4 years before that with the Democrats too.
Give our listeners a brief history of Greenland so we're all on the same page.
Yeah. So Greenland is a part of the Kingdom of Denmark, but we are 4,000 kilometers apart. I think that's around 3,300 something miles apart. Greenland is the largest island in the world. It's mostly 80% is covered in the ice cap sheet, which is melting at an alarming rate, I might add. And we are a sovereign part, autonomous, which means that we have our own parliament, our own rules. We make our own laws here. But there's also some areas that we haven't taken back to our self-governance here yet, which is, for example, foreign policies. However, we are, of course, involved in it. So Denmark has their defense force that is defending Greenland. Greenland has also the Thule Space Base, which is the United States base, the sole one left after having 17 at one point, actually, in Greenland, the US had. They dwindled it down to just one base, and we have that way up north in Greenland. We were indigenous people that came here around, I think it's 1100 to 1500 years ago, that I'm descendant from, as well as I have a Danish father, so I'm both European and indigenous Inuit, as we like to call it, or Galatlit, if you say it in our language. You don't have to. It's like a sobriety test in English. And yeah, we were colonized
What
by Danish Norwegian priest in 1721, and we're Christian by religion and an indigenous people, pretty much. And there's been a lot of debacle with the Trump administration about our sovereignty lately.
So how does it work right now? So do you guys pay taxes to Denmark or do you pay taxes to Greenland?
No, everything we pay goes to Greenland. Actually, Denmark is giving us a grant fund, which is called the block grant, because they're a former colony and they're making amends of that. So around 60 to 80%, depending on how you fiscally calculate it, is actually block grant from Denmark, which is everything in our government. And we are a welfare state as well as is Denmark. And we have a 300-400 years history together. So a lot of people like me have like a Danish parent or a grandparent, perhaps, and a lot of Danes actually also work here.
So you were part of the Cooperation Party, where you want to stay with Denmark. Can you explain a little bit about what the Cooperation Party is? And I know you said you might go back to the Democrats, but explain a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I'm a unionist, and I've always been, no matter where I've been politically, from very, very young age, because I thought that Greenland would be vulnerable for superpowers to come in and try to grab some of our land, minerals, perhaps oil deposits. We also have rare earth minerals here. We also have gold. We have a lot of gemstones. We have rubies, sapphires, and stuff like that. I mean, we have a lot of riches in the ground here in Greenland. And with the melting, global warming, melting ice cap, it's getting easier to access. And so since I was very, very young, I knew that we got a lot of the money that we use here in Greenland from Denmark in the block grant. I knew that we had to use maybe hundreds of years to develop our society to be able to be independent. And so I just wanted to come out and be frank and honest and say, look, we're a sovereign people. Of course we are. We are an indigenous people under the UN charters. However, we're also part of the Kingdom of Denmark, and Denmark is a very good kingdom to be a part of, I have to say. One of the richest countries in the world, also one of the happiest, one of the best educated, and they have a welfare state too. So I thought it's probably better that we stick with Denmark. We have a long history, and we do have dark chapters in our history together, and we're going to have to figure those out. And then that was all good, and there was a large part of the population that wanted to be independent, between 57 and 75%, depending on how you ask them, wanted to be independent in a poll I think was done 5 years ago or something like that. So it wasn't too popular to say, but I don't think that we're going to be in my lifetime or in my kids' lifetime. So it was very much a movement that was for independence, which I understand. I just wanted to be frank and honest and say, look, I don't think this is going to happen. So I have to say that I'm a unionist. Everything else would be dreaming or saying something that wasn't true. Um, and then when you ask those people, the 57 to 75%, the ones who've been happy, so when do you want to be it? Usually the answer you would get would be when we can, meaning that when we have enough educated people, we have enough export, et cetera, et cetera. So the last around 20 to 40%, again, depending on how you calculate, what we spend here in Greenland is from our fisheries export, and that's the only thing that we export. So as it is right now, I want to be a part of the King of Denmark, of course, which has become recently so much more popular than it was when I began my political career, I have to say. But I also am very pro the European Union, etc.
So when you talk about a welfare state, can you explain that?
Yes. So in Greenland and in Denmark, you get education for free. But in Greenland, we get even more freebies than they do in Denmark because Denmark is a much richer society than we are. So in Greenland, we get free education. We get paid actually to take an education while we're doing it, so we don't have to work on the side by the state. We get very low cost housing, which is fine. When you're young, get old, we can retire and we will get money from the state as a pensioner. We have a pensioners fund that is for everyone. If you want healthcare of any kind, no matter how long, it will be free. Everything is free. The medicine is free. Dental care is free. If there's something that we can't treat here in Greenland, we will be sent to Denmark, which also coincidentally have some of the best doctors in the world, some of the best hospitals in the world, even though it's free in Denmark too. And everything that we basically, if you fall ill at some point during your work life career, usually people will retire around 62 to maybe 65, 67 years old, depending on what kind of work they have. And if you fall ill somewhere between whenever you're ready to go on the labor market and your pensioners fund time when you can enjoy being an older person and play bridge with your friends and stuff like that, the state will also pay you. So you don't have to go broke and you don't have to go hungry, etc. So a welfare state basically means there's a safety net for everyone, and healthcare and everything that you need to live as a human being to be dignified is free.
So let me ask, my next question is going back to, you just mentioned the ice caps are melting. How does climate change play a part into Greenland and to your philosophy?
It means so much to us. First and foremost, let's take the political landscape there. The Northeast Passage is opening up more and more, which means that there's going to be a lot of traffic. There's a lot of money to be saved in shipping routes and stuff like that around the world, which goes right by Greenland on top there. And it's probably one of the reasons that Donald Trump is also very interested in Greenland. We do have both Canada and Russia right on the other side. We kind of joke sometimes when you go up a mountain, you can almost see the shores of Russia or Canada from here. It's not that far from us. So, of course, they will want control with that, which is possible under existing treaties. For the indigenous people living here in the Arctic, it means the world. For example, this January, when we were under threat from being invaded militarily by the United States, which is absurd, and I'll tell you why in a minute, to say for me, even in January, we had fluctuating temperatures that were so warm. I mean, just it wasn't even freezing some of the days, and usually it's like 15 to 20 degrees below Celsius, which is very cold here in Nuuk. And up north, it will be minus 30 to minus 50 degrees Celsius. But we have had an unusual warm January, so everything is very slippery here. Everything is ice you're walking on. And then there will come some snow and then not some snow. Usually everything on the mountains will be covered completely in snow. And as it is right now, you can see a lot of black peeking out of there. The ice usually will be on lakes and stuff like that, will be frozen over so you can skate on them and stuff. Police have had to send out warnings that you can't do that now. You will fall through and they will have to rescue you. But what it also means is that all of the fisheries that we do, the fish move with streams and they live in different temperatures and different times of the cycle of, the seasons changing here in Greenland. And so they move by that. And we are seeing confused animals. I mean, even my small dog, which is a very cute little fat dog, she is losing her hairs already here in the end of January and February because she thinks it's spring. Usually it will come around April, May. So it has a huge impact on both how livable it is right now. It's very slippery outside for elderly people to go outside. But it also has a huge impact on the economy. And everyone is talking about it. I mean, in Greenland, the weather is the one who decides everything. we're not as impatient as people will be in the rest of the Western countries, because we know if there's a snowstorm, we have to hunker down. If the weather is strange, it has to be something, there must be something afoot, is usually what the elders say. And something was afoot this January, but it was global climate change and Trump at the same time. So
What are
we're
you guys doing to
seeing that.
combat climate change? Or
I've always been aiming to live sustainable. I mean, it's
yeah,
really in the indigenous people's culture, right? So we're doing what we can. However, what we can't do anything about is all of the really polluting countries, which are very big. I mean, we're 57,000 people only in the whole of Greenland, and then we
yeah,
have another 18 to 30,000 indigenous people born in Greenland that lives in Denmark. That is how small our population is.
yeah.
So we don't really have to think that much about it, although we do use, like, if we are hunting, a lot of people are hunting. If we hunt, we use the whole animal, even the bones, if possible. Leave nothing behind. You use both the skin and the meat, and you use the bones for jewelry or creating small figures that are called dubillet, that you can send small. It's like small figures, if you've seen them, that are carved out in bone. And usually now they're a decorative feature, but yeah.
Spoke about Trump a little bit, so now let's get back to him. Why do you think he is? You touched on this already too. Why do you think he's so interested in Greenland?
Well, I think it's one of these reasons. I'm not sure which one, because it's very hard to follow how Donald Trump thinks. I would have to say I'm not a big fan, as you might have gathered. And even less of a fan now, I would have to say. Actually, maybe he wants to be the first US president in a long time to expand his territory. I think the security reason that he has been touting, and that what Marco Rubio and JD Vance is also touting, is complete bull. Is complete. I mean, it's not true. Under the existing treaty between Greenland, Denmark, and the United States, it's already possible for the United States to basically do what they want security-wise in Greenland. So if they want to put up more bases, they can do so. If they want to put more missiles, defensive stuff into the missile defense in all of those bases, they can do so. If they want to monitor the area around Greenland, the airspace and the seas around here, they can. As he said in Davos, the World Economic Forum is just a block of ice. Of course, it's not as our home and as a country, but it's very bewildering that he's at the same time really talking derogatory about Greenland, and putting up a penguin, maybe for laughs, maybe because he doesn't know there's no penguins in Greenland at all. And at the same time that he's so adamant that he wants to buy, own, or annex Greenland in some way. It's insulting, to say the least, but also very scary when a superpower is coming along. And let me get to the story that I wanted to tell you before. My dad used to work in Bidufik Space Base when it was called Thule Air Base, just before he met my mother, for a good deal of years there. So I actually grew up, of course, pledging allegiance first and foremost to my own people in Greenland, of course, the indigenous people, the Inuit here. Second, to the then Queen of Denmark, which is now the King of Denmark. And then third, actually, to the American president. I think Donald Trump is the only American president I have ever criticized. I may have been more fondly describing some than others, but I think actually Donald Trump is the first one that I've ever said anything about anywhere publicly. But it's bewildering. And I've been to the United States a lot of times out of my own pocket for leisure. I mean, I think we've traveled 16, 18 times or something like that for vacation and stuff like that, from Greenland to the United States. Very fond of the United States, actually. All of that has changed with the administration that is now. Of course, not the American people, or, I mean, the United States as a whole, but I mean, I can't think of any time where I've been an activist against the United States. And the reason why I became a unionist, as I mentioned before, was because I was scared that a superpower would come and rob us of our culture, our language, and our land, and would leave us with nothing. I mean, so the Inuit here would be just basic prisoners in their own country, getting nothing from the riches that are in our land. And I would have never imagined that it would be the United States that we would be scared of first, ever.
How are people reacting to Donald Trump?
He is not popular here, I have to say. When JD Vance said that he wanted to come here, first it was Usher Vance, then JD said that he would join her. And he wanted to visit Nuuk, Sisimiut, which is two of the largest cities here, and then go to Bidufik Space Base. He ended up only going to the American base because there were so big demonstrations against him coming here. He wasn't welcome. it was because he was part of the Trump administration. And Trump, of course, has been talking about this. We laughed it off kind of in 2014. I didn't, but most Greenlanders did in 2014 when he put the doctored image where there was somewhere in Greenland Trump Tower was being erected. He put that out on his Truth Social or whatever he was using back then. And I was thinking, oh no, oh no, no, no.
I want to switch topics. What is the tourism sector like in Greenland? Are you getting a lot of visitors?
Well, we are sort of in waves. It depends on whether or not we're in the political agenda and if we're in the news. But it's very expensive to travel here. It's very expensive to stay here. We get everything flown in, of course, that we eat and everything that we don't catch ourselves. The local people is flown in. So everything probably tourists eat and gets into shops and everything else is flown in or manufactured by flown in articles. So that costs a lot. You can't go anywhere in Greenland between cities without having to go by plane or by boat. So there's no roads between cities because they're so far apart. And that, of course, also makes it expensive to go here. So if you want to go to multiple tourism destination, multiple cities, it will be really costly to be a tourist. So we get a lot of high-end tourists. We have gotten a lot of Americans lately that we think are maybe affiliated with the government people that Trump said that he would send up here, perhaps. We are getting a lot of journalists, I have to say, from around the world, so much that media fatigue is actually something that people are saying frequently now and citing as no comment, we have media fatigue, and then they move on. It's a very small population, as I mentioned, and it has been very strenuous on people's mental health, but also with all of the international attention, of course, we welcome it, and we welcome the overwhelming support that Greenland has gotten. And I mean, the Inuit people has gotten. I was talking to some natives in the United States, and they were saying, oh, we're almost envious of how much attention you're getting as an indigenous people and how much support you're getting. I said, I understand. We're very lucky in that respect. But I mean, before that, it was a lot of Chinese, Russian, American, European, wealthy tourists that we had. And then, of course, a lot of tourists that are coming here as families or as workers from Denmark. And then their families come here as tourists. Maybe mom and dad wants to see how Greenland is and wants to try dog sled or, yeah. So that's how it is.
How does the culture from Greenland differ from Denmark?
It differs so much. Even if we speak the same language, I mean, if a Dane is speaking Greenlandic, or much more likely a Greenlandic person is speaking Danish, there's so vast cultural differences. Like in Greenland, you can say yes just by raising your eyebrows. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to utter a word. But you can say no, but just crinkling your nose, which is something that a lot of Danes are confused about because they're going, why aren't you answering? And then they go, the Greenlandic people, sorry, I have to say it yes or no. So that's like one famous cultural reference that always goes wrong. Greenlandic people are very much about contribution. We don't care about fame. We don't care about money. We don't care about how you look or what we care about is how you act. Are you kind? That's a high social status. Are you a beautiful soul? Contribute, so you help whenever you can. That is a high social status. Are you funny? Really high social status, because that's something that brings laughter and joy into people's worlds. And I know that sounds so indigenous and almost like a tribal thing, but it's really true. That's how you measure people locally. Are they a good person? Are they contributing to their family, to their society? They can be very rich and nobody really wants to be friends with them, and nobody really wants to go to their dinner parties and stuff like that. For real. If you are becoming famous in Greenland locally, like for say rapping or music or whatever you're doing, something artistic, people will have to know that it's something that contributes and it comes from something honest and real that some people can see themselves in. I have never seen anyone in Greenland yet. Probably someone will come along that has Botox, everywhere. So they look, when they're 70, they look all, their face is all messed up. And I don't think that we will. Some people, of course, I think probably a little nip and tuck here and there. It's very few though. And usually people will think, okay, if they feel like doing that, then that's okay. But we just don't understand that, because there's also a lot of value in the lines that you get. When you have smiled a lot, you will get a lot of smiling wrinkles. If you have thought a lot, you will get long cheeks. I mean, people think like that. And the beauty, I think, is very much in the eye of the Greenlandic people as to Have you lived a life that you can see? Do we know that you have had struggles and you overcame them? Has it been hard for you in some respect or another, socially, economically, or something like that? We will admire you for still standing. It's so different culturally. I mean, from the Western culture, in terms of especially value and intersocietal value, what we place among people socially ranking, than it is from a lot of the Western countries, including Denmark.
You said you were thinking of running for office again. Do you want to talk about that?
Well, suffice to say, I didn't run this time around because I wanted to make sure that I had some time for my family, which is my boyfriend and my stepson and my fat little dog, as mentioned, that we just adopted a couple of years ago. And I wanted to sort of gear down and take a breath and do some honest, local, ordinary work. And then Donald Trump came along, and I thought, I mean, foreign policies I have always been on. I've always been a unionist, and it has never been popular, either of those topics, because we have always been safe and secure, and nobody was really, I mean, of course, we're followed the news around the world and we're educated and stuff like that, but it hasn't really been a problem. I mean, in 1918, when there was the Spanish flu that killed so many people around the world, Greenland was totally sequestered. We didn't feel any of that. During World War II, we also didn't really feel any impact. There's a laughable story that is being told. There was one German soldier here who was shot in the buttocks, and that's it, somewhere. And he probably was being cast off a plane, being shot down from somewhere else. I mean, we have been so safe and so not a slow society in that regard, but it's not like the hustle and bustle of New York. Of course, when you come up here, the air is crisp and clean always, no matter what time of year it is. You can drink water right out of the mountains when you have streams going down when the snow is melting. That's how clean it is environmentally here. You can just put out your hand and you just take water, right? And yeah, I mean, we have had such a nestled, such a safe, such a great society here that was just going about its business. And then all of a sudden, Donald Trump said that he wouldn't rule out military force to
Yeah.
take Greenland, and everything was turned upside down. And I thought, "Ugh, I should have ran last time because finally my subjects are on." People were thinking of it like it's a little okay if you want to think that we would ever be invaded by a superpower. Why? What? I mean, and of course we haven't been, luckily, but we were threatened to be.
When's the next?
I think it's in 3 years,
Okay.
two and a half,
And
three
then,
years, and
as
then we'll see. Probably yes.
as we wrap up, you've spoken about Greenland a lot. Well, we've spoken all about Greenland. What do you want us to know about Greenland?
You just can't know Greenland unless you have set foot here. You just can't. Because as I mentioned, it sounds like something that we're just saying, but the nature here is so clean that you will feel it instantly when you come from a big city, from whatever part of the world you're from. Everyone is scared that it's cold here. Just dress accordingly. It'll be fine. Use Canada Goose or something like that, North Face. We do have summers here. They are warm, although they are short, a month or two, but they're beautiful. And fall and spring is beautiful times to be here. I mean, I don't think I've traveled around the world. I think I've been in close to 126 countries around the world during my time here on Earth, but I still go back to Greenland and think this is the most beautiful place in the world. I have seen some of the Tibetan mountain range and something like that. I thought that that was equally beautiful in another way. But I think that it's the most beautiful place in the world. And when it's spring or it's fall, the colors here also change. It's not just a barren land of ice and mountains. It's really, really beautiful. So it's hard to explain what I want people to know about Greenland. I would want them to know about the clean air. I would want them to experience what it's like to just, I mean, fill your lungs with completely clean air and there's not much noise. You can go from here. I mean, I live in the capital. From where I live in the high rise I live in, it takes 5 minutes to go out where there's no one else in nature. I mean, I go out with my dog and you are completely, it's like meditating when I was living in Denmark and Copenhagen as well as at one point in my life. And that was fine. But when I came home, I was like, oh, the silence, the beauty, the air. I mean, every
Your
time.
home. Your
Yeah,
home.
it's so beautiful.
As we wrap up, is there anything I forgot to ask you that I should have asked you?
Maybe I'll just say this. I mean, when Donald Trump was threatening to use military force to invade Greenland, it made me so angry, but also very sad. The relations that has been built between Greenland and the United States for, I mean, close to 80 years were shattered in a moment. And Greenlanders don't forget. I mean, this is, of course, when we're such a small population, first of all, whenever someone is coming here and visiting us, we can see that they're foreign in the instant they come in. And the next thing is that for generations, this will be told. The United States is not trustworthy. And I think that is horrible. That's horrible. I mean, there will be a time after this Trump administration and Donald Trump, of course. And the United States is not a nation of Donald Trumps. It's a nation of people just like we are. But having to turn around and explain that to the Greenlandic people and my kids and the kids that they will have is going to be such a hard feat. But it makes me so sad. As I mentioned before, I love the United States to travel there. I used to love the diversity, both in climate and nature, state by state mentality. That's all I wanted to say. I'm so sad about it.
As we wrap up, say something positive about Greenland.
Greenlandic people are very warm. They're frank. They're direct. They don't talk unless they need to talk. And they love their country. Everyone here is basically warm, inviting people. And had Donald Trump just come here and said, look, I want to negotiate some terms, we would have said, sure, of course, that's fine. As long as you treat us with respect, that's fine. So Greenland is a place for everyone, just not fighters. We're lovers.
Thank you so much for joining me, Tillie Martinussen. Thank you for out there for listening to me today and for joining our conversation. As always, tell me what you think. Put them in the comments. Until next time, everyone, be safe.